Hello! Today I'm very excited to talk about a book that's been very popular as of late. Perhaps one of the best YA books I have ever read. And that book is Scythe by Neal Shusterman, the first book in the Age of Scythe trilogy. This book has been getting a lot of love. There's a lot of hype surrounding this trilogy. And after reading it, I think it's very well deserved. And I'm ready to talk about why that is. I'm not going to lie. I was hesitant to pick up this book because it is YA. And I was of the belief that YA fiction is a lesser fiction. You cannot explore themes as thoroughly. Characters are generally not as intelligent. They make stupid decisions. A lot of tropes that are prevalent in YA are nauseating to read as a more mature reader. But after reading Scythe, I kept asking myself this question. Why aren't books like this required reading in the public school system in America? Because this book talks a lot about really big adult ideas, a very thought-provoking philosophical work. Scythe is a futuristic, sci-fi, utopian thriller. And the setting of this book makes it very interesting because in this book, humanity has advanced to a certain point in civilization where there is no inequality, there is no poverty, there is no government, there is no religion, and there is no overpopulation. So how do they solve all these problems? Technology has advanced to a certain point where humans, they don't get sick, they don't break bones, and if they do break bones, they're healed almost instantly. And there is even no death in this world because there's nanites inside everybody's bodies that heal them, keep them forever young, or allow you to reset your age. But you run into one problem with a world like this: overpopulation. So how do you keep populations in check? You have scythes, Grim Reaper-like individuals who are the only people who are able to end life, thus keeping populations in check. I love me a good utopia because utopias are very useful tools when it comes to exploring certain aspects of civilization, because in a utopia, you can remove certain societal roadblocks. And a world without death is incredibly compelling because when I read fiction, death is always a specter hanging over the plot. Because if our characters make a mistake, they can die. If they enter into a conflict in a foolhardy fashion, they could die. But I'm never worried for the lives of our characters in this book. But still, Neal Shusterman's able to keep tension and to keep the stakes high, and it was just a very impressive feat to accomplish. Instead, the tension that drives the plot of this book is surrounding several philosophical debates, mainly how important death is for humans. Death is the great motivator. Death is what puts a time limit on what we have to do. Death is what drives us to greatness. And a world without death, religion loses its color. Art loses its flavor. And beauty, just aesthetic in general, is just useless, unimportant. There is no need for escape in a perfect society, which is governed by an all-powerful, all-knowing AI that makes no mistakes. This book put me in a very philosophical mood. It is incredibly thought-provoking, and I was almost in a meditative state throughout. One of my favorite aspects of this book is before every chapter, there is an excerpt from one of the journals of one of the various scythes throughout history. Because when you have this job, you have big thoughts, you're trying to cope, and talking it out by writing it in your journal is a very therapeutic experience. And just seeing the insights from these individuals was incredibly eye-opening. It was a nice little stylistic touch that I just loved. The plot follows Rowan and Citra, two teenagers who are scythe apprentices, and they are trying to earn their robes and become full-fledged scythes. It is a very rare opportunity to join the ranks of the scythes. It is a very exclusive elite group, and the training is tumultuous, and Rowan and Citra learn that the job's a lot more complicated than it seems. Of course, teenagers cannot exist in a vacuum, and there has never been a good work of YA fiction that didn't have strong mentor characters. Mentors are important because teenagers, they make stupid decisions if left to their own devices. And Rowan and Citra, they are great protagonists because there are various great mentor figures in this book. But they learn from their mistakes, and they actually heed the wisdom of their elders. And I just found that incredibly refreshing. I can't tell you how many times I rolled my eyes growing up when I would read a book and the teenagers would say something that is asinine. But at the end of the book, they were proven right. And it's like, yeah, teenagers do know everything. That's why it's YA fiction. That's why it's fantasy. That's why it's escapism, because I'm a teenager and I'm right and the adults are wrong. But Scythe avoids that pitfall. And I just loved that because the mentor figures in Scythe are amazing. Like Scythe Faraday, a great mentor figure. They are intelligent and they constantly drop little nuggets of wisdom to our protagonists, and they actually heed it. And that was good. YA generally has faster pacing than adult fiction. In Scythe, it's pretty fast paced, but the pacing is very well balanced. It is spread throughout. There is no slog in the middle, and you could guess a lot of the plot points. You can guess a lot of the things that are going to happen in the story arc, but there are also some twists and turns that Shusterman put in there that surprised me. And that's pretty impressive in YA because generally, if there's a twist, they foreshadow it very heavily, and you could see it coming from a mile away. But in Scythe, I was surprised for real several times, and the ending of it was very cathartic. The climax, falling action, and resolution was pulled off very well. I'm currently reading Thunderhead, the second installment in this trilogy, and I'm enjoying it just as much as I enjoyed Scythe. And I think this trilogy is going to be amongst the best YA trilogies I've ever read. And I have very high hopes for it. In conclusion, my favorite character, Scythe Curry. My favorite quote, let me read it to you real quick. My greatest wish for humanity is not for peace or comfort or joy. It is that we all still die a little inside every time we witness the death of another. For only the pain of empathy will keep us human. There's no version of God that can help us if we ever lose that. Also, one more quote I really liked. Hope in the shadow of fear is the world's most powerful motivator. I hope you enjoyed this video. Push that little thumbs up icon below if you did. Subscribe to my channel and all that jazz. And I'll see you guys next time.